Hello. I want to speak a little bit about the Sakyadhita conference that Venerable Samkhya and I went to in June this year. So while I was in Germany, I visited a nunnery. It's called Schiede. It's in the north of Hamburg, of Germany. And Schiede stands for peace and happiness. It's founded by two nuns in 2014. And so far, it's the first Tibetan nunnery in the Tibetan tradition in Europe. And right now, only two nuns are living there, but there are many or a number of monastic and lay supporters who are looking for a second house. The property is already bought, and now they're looking for some more fundings and ideas how to establish that nunnery. So therefore, the nuns asked me if I would like to join the Abbeys to go to Hong Kong and to present the nunnery and to speak a little bit about the challenges of Western monastics there. So I was, of course, very happy about that very unique opportunity. So Venerable Schödrin, she has apparently the same name as the Abbeys here, and I traveled to Hong Kong in June together, and the conference was for about 1 week. It was the 15th conference and at the same time the 30th anniversary of Sakyadhita International. So every 2 years the conference is held in different Buddhist countries, mostly Buddhist countries like in India or in Indonesia. So this year it was held in Hong Kong. It's not a Buddhist country, but Hong Kong has about 1 million Buddhists and more than 400 Buddhist temples. So about 900 participants and came from 45 countries to join that conference this year. It's not just a conference for women and of women, so men joined that conference as well. So everybody who supports the equality of women was invited to join. The days were filled with meditation, with presentations in the mornings and evenings, with Dharma talks, and with several cultural events. The theme of the whole event was about contemporary Buddhist women, contemplation, cultural exchange, and social action. The president and co-founder and organizer of Sakyadhita International, Venerable Jetsun Matensien Palmo and Lekshe Tsomo, right at the beginning in their welcoming speeches said that the conference is aiming to empower lay women and female monastics around the world, to bridge scholars and practitioners, to share spiritual practices, to connect and to bring peace and wisdom into the world. So we had 4 full days with many presentations on various topics around the theme, such as mindfulness across cultures and building healthy families and communities. For example, one presentation by Terry Civilli, who's a program manager at the Garrisons Institute, she emphasized that that it's important to pay attention that companies don't use mindfulness meditation as a tool to control their employees, to make them more obedient. In other words, to shut them down. And that's actually quite important. It happened, and she shared some examples. And so we have to speak about those issues and take initiatives to work against such developments. So it was interesting and helpful to her and to discuss this topic. The third day was about Buddhism and social action and religious status of women Buddhist practitioners. 2 presentations have been enlightening for some of us who are ordained as bhikshunis in Taiwan or as bhikshus in Taiwan. Both Taiwanese presenters emphasized the history and the growth of Buddhism and the Buddhist Sangha in Taiwan. They shared stories about cooperation of women and the importance of education for women and nuns in Taiwan. Highly educated nuns and the support of elite Buddhist lay women brought great benefit to the Buddha Dharma in Taiwan. Taiwan has now more than 8 million Buddhists, and 75% of them are nuns. On the fourth day, we had panels on, for example, female images of enlightenment and gender equality. Like Pema Kadro, she encouraged us to recognize the existence of yogis and yoginis as a third category of practitioners besides lay practitioners and monastics. And those yoginis can be quite accomplished. Some are celibate, some are not. Our last day started with more than 20 focused groups on, for example, the future of the Sakyadhita international conferences and on Buddhism and monastic training in East and West. And many of the Western monastics there, I think about 20, joined the focus group on monastic training in East and West. And Venerable Tenzin Palmo shared from her own experience of decades of practicing as a Buddhist nun and teaching, what she saw and experienced, the difficulties Western nuns have, the lack of financial support from the Tibetan teachers and from lay people. She brought up very sad experiences, examples of monastics who lived under very difficult situations, also contributing greatly to the development of Buddhist centers and monasteries in the East and West. So during the conference, this was quite a theme. I learned especially during the discussions and sharing individually with people there, hearing about what they went through in their monastic life. And I just didn't learn about the lack of support for Western monastic, but also that there's a bridge between East and West. So till today, Westerners tend more to support their spiritual Tibetan teachers and Tibetan monasteries in exile than the Western nuns of the Tibetan tradition. Even so, they are giving great benefits to the Buddhist centers, to their teachers, and many students. More than 60 years now that the Tibetans settled in Asia, in India, or in the West, they received quite a good amount of fundings from the West, but not many Westerners who live in the East have been supported by their Tibetan teachers in return. So this is indeed sad, but it's not a dead end. So we can see that there's some movement in regard of support for Western monastics. For example, here at Sravasti Abbey, where Western monastics can come and train, study the Dharma. Or there are also since centuries some Taiwanese temples who invite Western nuns and monks to come to receive bhikshu, bhikshuni ordination, to train there, to learn the vows. And also Korean, South Korean temples offer their support. You can go there, ordain, and live there for several years actually to train in their temples. Might not be a perfect condition because it's abroad, you have to learn a different language and such, but there are some opportunities that you can take to hand. Also, in the case of Germany, there's a Tibetan center, and since decades, since the 70s, monastics have been supported and trained there. So I think it's good to talk about those topics, where we are at, what kind of problems we have, to brainstorm possibilities for further support for nuns and Buddhist women. So there are some opportunities that we can use and establish further. Those meetings and discussions like we had at the Sakyadhita International Conference will help to establish and encourage more movement that can benefit the nuns in the West. So I think these conferences from Sakyadhita International are great opportunities to connect with many, many other Buddhist women and men, to meet old friends, to make connections, to support each other, to encourage each other, to learn about other monasteries, centers, projects. I found it very empowering, very encouraging. And every monastic, every layperson, men and women, are invited to join this conference. It's not just for monastic and not just for women. It's a forum for men and women equally, to support women's rights, gender equanimity, and those who want to encourage and learn and empower each other. So maybe in 2019, one of you will join this conference. It's up to you to create the future, to create more opportunities for Western nuns or for lay practitioners, female, male, to bring the future about how you would like to see it.